Discover the incredible moment when a homeless girl transformed my pain at my husband's funeral. Grief had turned into an oppressive blanket over Sarah ever since Tom had died. Days felt like an eternity as she navigated the intricate maze of loss. The funeral loomed ahead like a dark specter. She could hear the whispers of neighbors judging her frailty. How will she manage? They wondered. A single mother now, scarcely holding it together, while deep down, she felt the earth crack beneath her feet. Each breath felt heavy, saturated with sorrow. How could she send her son to school knowing others would see him without his father? She forced smiles, but those around her only saw the facade, and that tortured her more. Arriving at the early morning of the funeral, Sarah's heart raced. The chapel was filled with sympathetic faces, warm embraces, but their words were meaningless. They offered condolences, yet their voices washed over her like a dull hum. Looking at the empty casket, Sarah felt an awful sense of disconnection. It was almost mocking how the room buzzed with life while her heart had been locked in a chamber of despair. What was she now, just a widow, a lost soul adrift? As if running from the weight of grief, she slipped outside after the service, desperately needing the clarity of fresh air. She walked for blocks, distracted by her racing mind, until she stumbled upon a donation bin. That's when she noticed her Lily, a girl of around 12, joyfully rummaging through clothes. At first, Sarah's heart sank, another reminder of how hard life could be. But then, Lily's laughter pierced through Sarah's fog of sorrow. She listened, transfixed, as the girl spoke of dreams of paint and canvas, of a life filled with color and creativity. Art is my escape. Lily beamed, her enthusiasm igniting something dormant within Sarah. For a brief moment, Sarah could almost feel the edges of her own long-forgotten dreams, her aspirations tarnished by years of responsibility. What had happened to that version of herself? Could she, a broken woman carrying the burden of her husband's death, also dream again? Inviting Lily to her home for a meal felt like a reckless act of defiance against grief. What if she found joy in the act of kindness? Yet, after welcoming Lily into her kitchen, Sarah grappled with a disquieting truth that fermented in silence between them. While she was swept up in sorrow, Lily was staring down her own tragic circumstances, neither living the life they dreamed. Would it be wrong for Sarah to find warmth in their connection amidst grief? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each passing hour, a flicker of hope ignited within Sarah. Small moments of laughter, bittersweet conversations that tasted like nostalgic childhood dreams, yet guilt clawed at her insides. How could she embrace this flicker while mourning? The moment was counterintuitive, swinging between finding solace and feeling selfish. But as she began to embrace that hope, destiny chose that precise moment to drop a bombshell. Lily had secrets darker than Sarah could comprehend, truths tied to her struggles that might unravel everything Sarah had just begun to stitch back together. Panic surged within her veins, leaving her teetering dangerously on the brink of something she couldn't fathom. Would she dare continue this relationship when her own grief was a raging storm, clouding her own vision? The thought weighed down her heart, unraveling the promising connection just as it had begun to bloom. Sarah's hands shook slightly as she cleared the table after their shared meal. Lily's enthusiasm for art had painted a temporary escape in the gray palette of her world, yet as the girl recounted vivid dreams of becoming a painter, the weight of Sarah's reality crushed the brightness of those moments. What do you want to paint? Sarah challenged herself to ask, her voice barely masking the vulnerability buried deep inside her. Lily paused, the hint of a smile fading as she glanced at her empty plate, her fingers tracing the edge. I want to make the world feel beautiful, she said, a tremor in her voice. Especially for kids who feel lost. The sadness lurking behind the girl's eyes stirred something profound within Sarah. Here was a child, brimming with dreams, yet burdened with her own shadows, much like Sarah herself. As she listened, she couldn't ignore the gnawing question that gnawed at her conscience. Could she truly aid a soul while her own was still shattering? The idea of stepping into a mentor's shoes, almost maternal, felt terrifying and exhilarating at once. Days turned into weeks, and with their bond growing stronger, so did the unspoken heaviness of Lily's secrets. One afternoon, as Monday's rain drizzled against the window panes, she saw Lily staring out, lost in thought. "I want to paint a mural," the girl eventually said, almost timidly, "at the park. But I don't have the supplies." "It's silly to dream without the tools, right?" Those words hit Sarah like a jolt. It was no longer merely about the girl's ambitions. It resonated deeply with Sarah's own dreams, stifled for so long beneath layers of grief and fear. The urge to help surged within her, battling against her trepidation about her own inadequate abilities. Could she, a woman who'd just begun to see fragments of her identity beyond Tom's widow, feel capable of nurturing another's hope? And just like that, amidst the chaos of her circumstances, Sarah made a decision. She would assist Lily, not just with materials, but would encourage her to stretch beyond her comfort zone. It could become a catalyst for both of them, a project to channel grief, pain, and aspirations into something greater. The following days were a whirlwind of preparation. They scoured craft stores, laughed as they rummaged through bargain bins, and collaborated on designs. Yet, overshadowing their creative energy was the specter of Lily's hidden pain. Often, after pouring their hearts into sketches and color palettes, Sarah witnessed shadows flicker in Lily's eyes during quiet moments, as if a storm brewed just beneath the surface. Their mural solidified into a project that promised to bridge their experiences, an outlet for Sarah to confront her loss and for Lily to step into the light. Yet when the day arrived for them to begin painting, Lily hesitated. Sarah sensed it immediately, the urge to retreat from failure, from vulnerability. The moment felt pivotal, heralding both an opportunity and a potential undoing. "How can I fill the world with beauty when I can't even fill my own life with happiness?" Lily's voice trembled, exposing not just her insecurities but also echoing Sarah's own struggle. The confession pressed against Sarah's resolve, reminding her of her own suffocating questions. Sarah crouched, meeting Lily's gaze, battling visions of retreat. "What if," she began, her heart hammering in her chest, "we allow our grief to transform into our art? What better canvas could we create from both our pain?" The words hung there, heavy with the charge of possibility. Would they dare to embrace their sorrow as fuel rather than chains? Sarah's next move felt imminent, just as the air shifted around them. It was time. Time to let her own heart bleed through the paint, her grief intermingling with the vibrant colors they would splash against the wall, to reclaim a part of her that had been buried by loss for far too long. Would they dare to step into a new chapter fueled by their struggles, or would courage abandon them at the brink of creation? As silence enveloped them, the weight of decision loomed between Sarah and Lily. Emerging from the mundane, the choice to channel their heartache into art felt revolutionary, yet daunting. Sarah stared into Lily's eyes, catching a flicker of recognition. They were both standing on the precipice of transformation, ready to leap into the unknown. "Let us begin," Sarah said, her voice steadier than she felt. She wasn't just talking about the paint, she was imposing a declaration upon herself too. Every brushstroke would not only symbolize Lily's recovery but also signify her own ongoing journey. They retrieved their supplies, the brushes, the colors, and the blank canvas that loomed large before them, waiting for life. The first stroke, a bold splash of blue, swayed across the canvas. It felt liberating. Sarah leaned into the flow of paint, feeling it glide beneath her fingers. She caught Lily mimicking her with hesitant strokes, unsure yet eager. As the mural began to take form, colors intertwined, and shapes emerged, so did laughter, an echo of distant echoes they hadn't known for so long. But as the canvas blossomed, so too did Lily's dread. Shadows still danced in the corners of her expression, and each laughter was shadowed with fear. "What if it's not good enough?" she finally whispered, pausing her brush midair. The hesitation struck Sarah like a lightning bolt. "Art isn't about perfection," Sarah replied, though doubt trickled into her own thoughts. "It's about expressing what you feel. Our story is worth telling, no matter how it turns out." She took a deep breath, pushing the fear of inadequacy aside. They continued. Sarah directed Lily, guiding her through techniques, all while confronting the very realities she had buried within herself. Each session at the park grew heavier with both pain and strength. While Lily expressed her vulnerability through colorful figures that danced across the canvas, Sarah discovered something she had believed long gone: personal empowerment. Painting with Lily forced her to challenge her past, to face her grief and unearth it with every brushstroke. Days turned into vibrant community sessions, where they attracted onlookers who cheered their progress. Sarah found herself swamped with commendations, unexpectedly hungry for every piece of recognition. Her identity once lost in the shadows began to spark into life again. Yet, as they unveiled the skies and trees in their mural, deeper issues brewed. Late one evening, while reviewing sketches, Lily broke. "I keep thinking of what happened with my mom. I want to paint more than this mural. I wish I could paint the hurt away." The storm within her erupted, echoing an experience reminiscent of Sarah's own unresolved grief. "Tell me about it," Sarah urged, dropping her brush. This moment was pivotal. The fissures of honesty began to crack open the caverns of despair they had both hidden. As Lily spoke of abandonment and loss, Sarah felt her heart echo with empathy. It mirrored her own story of grief. How could she let another bear this burden alone? "Being vulnerable is strength, Lily," Sarah asserted, cradling the girl's hands. "We can't paint our pain away, but we can bring it to light. It's okay to feel lost." The words ignited a flicker of understanding in both their hearts. The mural would not just depict beauty but encapsulate resilience through their pain, allowing them to breathe life into their sadness. As they prepared for the mural's completion, Sarah felt the winds of change around her. Confessions had unraveled layers within, revealing hidden strengths and confirming that she was reclaiming her identity not only for herself but for Lily too. But a looming doubt remained. Could this catharsis truly heal the gaping wounds within them? Tomorrow held a final brushstroke, the climax of their art and emotions. How would it feel, stepping down after pouring their hearts onto that canvas? Would it solidify their transformations or merely expose the depths of vulnerability lying beneath? Would they find healing through the beauty of their creation or awaken deeper scars hidden beneath the surface? The answers rested upon the edge of their final act. The sun cast a warm glow over the park, illuminating the mural that had become a testament to both Sarah and Lily's resilience. Hundreds of brushstrokes converged on the canvas, a reflection of their inner turmoil, yet Sarah stood before it with an unsettling energy. Despite the beauty unfolding before her, a fear had settled deep within her, threatening to overshadow their accomplishments. Today was the day they would complete their mural, a culmination of their collective pain, growth, and healing. But instead of excitement, she felt dread creeping in, gnawing at the hard-won confidence that had blossomed over the past weeks. What if the final brushstroke failed to encapsulate their journey? What if they couldn't fully convey the complexities of their emotions? Deep down, Sarah was grappling with her own unresolved grief, the raw wound of her husband's death lying dormant beneath layers of newfound creativity. Painting with Lily had been a balm, yet the thought of finalizing the mural brought her fraught emotions to the surface. In coloring their world, could she finally unearth her own? Lily approached, her expression a mix of resolve and trepidation. "What if we do one last symbol, something that signifies what we've both faced?" Her words ignited a spark in Sarah. This was not just about aesthetics, this was an opportunity for both of them to confront their realities head-on. "Definitely," Sarah replied with a nod. "Could we paint a figure with its arms open, inviting the world in? A symbol of our willingness to face our pain?" She felt an exhilarating surge of determination pulse through her. This final stroke wouldn't just be an end, it would represent a new beginning. They exchanged ideas, brainstorming elements that resonated with their hearts. This time, Sarah sensed something unique in eagerness to unearth parts of herself she had long buried. As they painted, her hesitations dwindled, replaced with the pulsing rhythm of inspiration that spoke of new horizons. In the midst of creative fervor, Lily paused, her brush stilling above the canvas. "Sarah, I don't want to just express our hurt. I want to expose the strength we've found through it." Her words hung in the air, a profound challenge that resonated deeply within Sarah. "Right," Sarah said, her voice softening as the realization washed over her. This was not only about illuminating their pain but also showcasing their growth. They had both come to terms with their struggles, and now it was time to celebrate their transformations. With renewed urgency, they layered vibrant colors over the figure, evoking both the heaviness of their past and the luminous possibilities of their future. Each stroke felt as if it were simultaneously lifting weights from their hearts and casting light into the shadows. As the mural approached completion, a palpable sense of shared vulnerability enveloped them. They were not just opening the doors to their own wounds, they were inviting viewers to reflect on their struggles and consider their strength in overcoming adversity. Then they reached the painting's heart, the face of the figure. How do we capture acceptance in her eyes? Sarah pondered, her brush poised. She realized in that moment that to show acceptance was to confront her own. Could she truly accept the loss of her husband, rather than just carrying it as a burden? With a determined breath, she dipped her brush into white and blended it carefully with the vibrant hues, creating a swirl of light deep within the figure's gaze. It represented clarity, an acceptance of life's multiplicity, the beautiful and the painful intertwined as one. But, as they added the final touches, a shadow flickered across Sarah's heart, the lingering concern that acceptance also meant letting go. Would she really be able to move forward without losing a part of who she had been? "I can't help but feel this moment means we're moving toward completely different paths," she admitted to Lily, a lump forming in her throat. Lily's eyes widened with understanding. What if there's beauty in that divergence? We can embrace our journeys while supporting each other. What began as a cathartic act of creation had morphed into a profound reflection of their identities. They were two strong souls, uniquely shaping their paths forward. Yet doubt still nibbled at Sarah's resolve, her heart racing with unease. Would they remain connected as their journeys evolved, or would time pull them apart? As the last brushstroke settled in, both felt the weight of anticipation. This was merely the beginning. What lay beyond the canvas was just as unknown as the journey that had brought them here. Would the mural indeed be a source of healing, or would it unearth deeper scars yet to be confronted? The answers loomed just beyond the stroke of completion. With the final stroke behind them, Sarah felt an unexpected mixture of relief and anxiety. It was a bittersweet moment, one that held the promise of transformation but also the weight of uncertainty. She stepped back from the mural, allowing the vivid hues and intricate patterns to wash over her. Yet, beneath the surface, a storm of emotions brewed. The thrill of creating something profound danced alongside the shadow of her unresolved grief. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a soft golden glow across the park, Sarah knew their mural had become more than a simple painting. It symbolized a boundary between the past and the future. Yet the delight it sparked was eclipsed by the gnawing fear lingering within her. Would this act of closure allow her to confront her pain, or would it serve only as a reminder of her loss? "Look at what we've created," Lily said, her voice lilting with excitement. "It's incredible." Sarah forced a smile, but beneath her gratitude, self-doubt whispered questions that clung to her. What if it's not enough? She thought, her eyes traveling over the canvas once more. The abstract figure with arms outstretched was bold, yes, but it lacked something that transcended beauty. "You know, painting this mural taught me a lot about facing fears," Lily continued, breaking through Sarah's reverie. "It feels like we've invited hope in with those strokes, doesn't it?" Hope. The concept struck Sarah with both allure and trepidation, a dichotomy she wrestled to understand. But what if we just end up losing what we've held onto? Sarah turned her gaze inward, wrestling with the fragility of acceptance. "Everything is a balance," Lily insisted, the confidence in her voice stirring something within Sarah. "We can't just erase the past, but we can honor it and move forward." The weight of those words bore down on Sarah like an anchor, but in their depth lay a glimmer of clarity. Perhaps honoring her late husband didn't mean she had to remain tethered to the grief he left behind. They had shared a life together, and she didn't need to sacrifice the essence of that connection in her pursuit of healing. "Could you help me find that recognition?" Sarah asked, vulnerability creeping into her tone. "To discover what cherishing his memory looks like while embracing my own journey." Lily nodded, her expression reflecting an understanding beyond words. "We can work on this together, one day at a time. Your journey matters just as much as the art itself." In that moment, Sarah felt a ripple of determination surge through her. Each brushstroke had been a stepping stone, but what awaited her beyond the canvas was a path yet to be forged. Slowly, her fears morphed into questions that propelled her forward, and the urge to act overshadowed her worries. "Let us do something more with our mural," she proposed, inspired by a new wave of clarity. "I want to engage the community, to allow them to share their stories too. This piece isn't just ours, it can invite others to find their strength." Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Yes. That will emphasize connection. Let us plan an event where everyone can add their touch, share their stories." As they began brainstorming possibilities, Sarah realized she had embarked on a dual endeavor, striving to paint a future rich with meaning while gathering strength from those around her. The mural would not only represent the journey she had taken but also integrate the broader experiences of those who resonated with their struggles. But as they discussed the intricacies of organizing their plans, a gnawing fear re-emerged. Would opening up this project complicate her healing? Would intertwining her narrative with others cause her wounds to resurface? The thrill of engagement battled the hesitance that threatened to hold her back. Yet she now understood that true healing required honesty, embracing the weight of her loss alongside the hope blooming in her heart. As uncertainty loomed larger, the question lingered: could a single decision to share her story with others yield a path toward the acceptance she craved? The answer seemed elusive, just as she prepared to leap into the unknown once more. What awaited Sarah was an exploration not only of her individuality but the painful yet beautiful fracture lines shared among others, a journey that could redefine her understanding of love and loss, or plunge her deeper into the shadows she had fought so fiercely against. Would this leap grant her the connections she desperately sought, or would it only tip her into the abyss once more? As dawn broke on the horizon, casting rays of silver light across the park, Sarah stood before the mural again, its colors now radiant with the promise of a new day. She took a hesitant breath, the air crisp with possibility. This canvas had transformed from a mere expression of grief into a vessel for others' hopes and stories. Yet, the fear of exposing herself to vulnerability still loomed, heavier than the morning mist that cloaked the surrounding trees. Yesterday, she had taken the first steps toward engaging with the community, but the prospect of inviting strangers to share their pain and resilience felt daunting. Thoughts darted around in her mind like errant brushstrokes, unsure of how to blend together. What if they don't want to hear my voice? What if I can't help them? The self-doubt crept back in, much like the shadows that threatened to overtake her every thought. What if my pain is too raw to share? Yet as she remembered the vibrant energy of the mural, the lives it represented, her resolve gently stirred. This was not solely about her anymore. It was about a bridge, an invitation to connect deeply with the broader narrative of loss and healing. Today's the day, she told herself, an internal mantra meant to drown out the doubt. She picked up her sketchbook, now filled with ideas for how to weave community stories into their mural, and flipped to a new page. The lines and shapes sprinkled with ink transformed into a vision of collective expression, each story adding dimension to the artwork. She began to outline a plan, simple but intentional. A call for submissions would help her gather the stories that resonated with the theme of resilience, articulated through sketches, quotes, and phrases. Each submission would be a testament to the strength found in vulnerability. As she worked, her thoughts wandered back to Lily. She could organize a meeting, Sarah thought, feeling an urge to collaborate. Lily had a way of rallying enthusiasm, drawing many in with her infectious optimism. Grabbing her phone, Sarah texted Lily with the plan. "Let us meet up later. I have ideas." Hours later, over steaming cups of coffee, Sarah laid out her vision. Watching Lily's reaction unfold fueled a spark within her. "This is amazing," Lily exclaimed, her excitement radiating bright. "You're giving people a chance to express what they've kept inside. You'll see, it'll resonate more than you realize." Yet, the looming question remained: was she ready to step into the light of the stories she would welcome? Could probing into others' wounds expose her to her own scars? The prospect of hearing someone else's trauma made her own seem more manageable, but it also made her vulnerable to re-experiencing her loss. "I want to listen," Sarah admitted, her voice barely a whisper as the weight of her admission settled. "But there's fear, too. What if I get lost in their stories and forget my own healing?" "You won T," Lily reassured her. "In helping others, I believe you'll also find your way back to yourself. It's a dance. One moment, you step forward, then back, but the music keeps playing. Just let it lead you." That metaphor ignited a flicker of hope in Sarah. The fear still gnawed at her, but now it danced alongside determination. If she could embrace the process of creating alongside others, perhaps she stood a chance of both healing and helping. The act of connecting might become a balm for her spirit. Lily's confidence was infectious, and as ideas flowed between them, the murky waters of Sarah's doubts began to clear. "We'll build this mural not just with paint, but with stories," Sarah said, her tone more resolute. "And I will remember where I started." Yet, as they refined their concepts and momentarily lost track of time, a new, alarming thought seized Sarah. What if the stories shared are too painful? What if they open wounds that we cannot mend? As they wrapped up their plans, Sarah felt both invigorated and apprehensive. The mural would embody not just healing, but the range of human experience that accompanied grief and loss. She couldn't shake. The questions lingering at the edges of her mind, slippery but insistent, was the next step forward fraught with the risk of grief breaking free, or could it be a journey into the depths of understanding? Her eyes drifted to the mural, the vibrant colors swirling in front of her, and in that moment, she knew this new chapter would demand that she embrace both joy and sorrow. Would she be bold enough to face what lay ahead? Would she be ready to welcome the stories, even when they threatened to unravel her? In that stillness, a decision formed within her, an anchor amidst uncertainty. She would dive headfirst into the unknown, bravely intertwining her journey with those around her. But as Sarah prepared for this leap, one final question haunted her thoughts: would she emerge more whole or more fragmented on the other side? The sun climbed higher, pushing the shadows of doubt away as Sarah stood before the mural that now glimmered with potential. Each brushstroke was not merely an expression of her grief but a beacon for those who might contribute their stories. Today was not just about color and canvas, it was about connection, about creating a sacred space for voices that had long been silenced. Yet, beneath her resolve simmered a tide of apprehension. As she left the coffee shop, a swirl of purpose guided her steps toward the park, heart racing with anticipation. She would not only encourage others to share but would also unearth layers within herself she had carefully buried. Each interaction could expose the raw edges of her heart, what would surface when buried emotions were coaxed into the light. Arriving at the mural, Sarah felt the familiar thrill rush through her. She pulled out her phone, fingers hovering over her contact list. Should she send out a mass invitation, or would a few personal pleas yield more authentic engagement? She opted for the latter, tapping messages to those she felt had stories to tell. Each name brought a flicker of connection. Some reminded her of loss, others of strength. People began to respond, some reluctant, hesitating at the precipice of vulnerability. Sarah's stomach knotted as she read their apprehensions. What if their fears mirrored her own? What if they struggled to entrust her with their pain? The thought nearly paralyzed her, but determination wrestled with doubt. "Come share your story," made her heart race, not just from excitement but terror. She was asking them to open their wounds she herself feared to confront. Yet, she remembered Lily's words about the dance, and she resolved to keep moving forward. The first response was from a woman named Jenna, whose message detailed a loss that echoed Sarah's own. As she read, Sarah felt an unexpected kinship spark. There was something shared in their grief, something that might bridge their experiences. She quickly typed back, inviting Jenna to meet. Later that week, as they sat, Jenna's voice trembled as she shared her story. With each word, Sarah found herself both drawn in and grappling with her own reflections. Jenna's sorrow echoed within her, familiar yet distinctly her own. Tears glimmered in Jenna's eyes, and Sarah's heart beat faster, not for fear, but for empathy. This connection tethered them, intertwining their losses in ways that felt healing. As their conversation deepened, Sarah realized that these moments were the essence of why she had initiated this project. Each story shared was a step toward acceptance, a way to embrace her grief without being consumed by it. She began to sense a shift, the heaviness inside her began to lighten, if only slightly. The confrontation she feared might instead become a catalyst for healing. The mural would become a tapestry of intertwined lives, a testament that amidst individual sorrow, connection could still thrive. Yet, with every unveiling of a shared story, a deeper unease began to unfurl in her chest. Would she still emerge whole if she continued on this path? As she faced these stories through the lens of the mural, would she merely be a witness, or would she also need to confront her own buried pain? Leaving that meeting with Jenna, Sarah was filled with both belief and trepidation. This was not just her project anymore, it was becoming a reflection of collective experiences, and her identity was shifting alongside it. But doubts loomed like persistent clouds. Would she be strong enough to support others without collapsing from her own burdens? The dance between sharing and shielding continued, and just as it felt like she was finding her rhythm, a startling message from her past fell into her inbox, shaking her resolve. As she stared at the screen, the icy grip of uncertainty settled in once more. Would this revelation lead her toward closure or further into chaos? Hours passed before Sarah could tear her gaze from the message flickering in her inbox. The sender's name felt like an anchor, dragging her back through time. It was a name she hadn't seen in years, a ghost from a past laced with unresolved feelings. Jason Harper, her late husband's best friend and the one person who had always been tethered to her grief, was reaching out. What could he possibly want now? Her heart raced. The invitation to respond felt heavy, a tie binding her once again to moments she thought she had begun to unravel. But perhaps this confrontation was necessary, perhaps it was time. Resolutely, she forced herself to read the contents of the message. Jason had offered his condolences yet again, this time accompanied by an admission of guilt. He was sorry for not being there after the funeral, sorry for how he had failed to reach out and connect when she needed everyone most. His words trailed on, morphing from apology to an awakening of shared pain, urging her to meet with him. The swirling chaos within her mind battled between the instinct to retreat and the desire to confront her past. Could she allow herself to be vulnerable again, not just through her project but with Jason? What would they discuss? Would she fall apart just by facing him, or would this be an opportunity to grasp the healing she sought? As the potential for their meeting took shape in her mind, images invaded her consciousness, their muted conversations at the funeral home, the way Jason's eyes glimmered with a sympathetic ache, and the finality of watching her own loved ones disappear. Her breaths quickened at the thought of walking into a confrontation with all her pent-up emotions on display. Yet, she noticed something stirring deep within, an eagerness entwined with fear, creating a blend of apprehension and acceptance. What if this was the time she needed to bring closure, not only to her relationship with Jason but to the lingering shadows of her husband's absence? With a deep, steadying breath, she opened her phone's messaging app and typed a response. "Yes, I'd like that. Let us meet." Each word typed was akin to peeling back another layer of her grief, exposing parts of her heart she had long shielded. Immediately, a pang of anxiety followed. Would she truly be ready to unearth the memories, to face whatever ghosts might rise to greet them? As the day of their meeting approached, Sarah found herself revisiting questions she'd buried beneath her own sorrow. Would Jason expect her to forgive him, or was this more about alleviating his guilt? She wanted to prepare herself. Their reunion could sift through the ashes of what had been and what could still be a revelation waiting to unfold. The mural began to weigh heavily on her spirit as she navigated these thoughts. It now seemed a potent symbol of her own journey, one filled with vibrant colors and shared losses. The sun was setting as she stood before it again, studying the strokes of paint that reflected the collective voices she wished to assemble. It occurred to her that perhaps she didn't need to shield herself entirely from their fragility. Perhaps embracing her own vulnerabilities while acknowledging those of others was the essence of true connection. As she turned to leave, Sarah heard the crunch of gravel behind her. She spun around, heart racing. Was this Jason, or could it be someone else wishing to share their story? Unmistakably, confrontation loomed ahead, and she could feel the tension building within. The time had come to not only canvas her grief but to pen the next chapter of her life. But what lay ahead remained shrouded in uncertainty, leaving her with only one question: would she be able to rise after this next meeting, or would it plunge her deeper into chaos? The sun dipped below the horizon as Sarah stepped back from the mural, her heartbeat echoing the crunch of gravel underfoot. She squared her shoulders, absorbing the dim light that bathed the colors she had poured into the artwork, her attempt to translate grief into beauty. Each brushstroke had echoed her journey, but now a heavier emotion settled in her chest. The abrupt sound of footsteps behind her ricocheted through the stillness, and she turned, unwilling to let the shadows of uncertainty engulf her. It was Jason. His silhouette cut through the gathering dusk, familiar yet charged with the weight of their past. Hesitation washed over Sarah. Their connection was fraught with complications. Meeting him represented stepping into a chasm of emotions she had meticulously tried to navigate, but a flicker of determination sparked within her as he approached. This moment could serve as a turning point, a litmus test for both of them. "Hey," she managed, voice tentative but reaching for steadiness. "Hi," he replied softly, the remorse that marked his message now palpable in his tone. "Thanks for agreeing to meet." They stood there for a moment, the air thick with unspoken words, the palpable scars of shared tragedy uniting them in a strange, intimate silence. Sarah felt the urge to retreat, to shield herself from the pain she might inadvertently unleash. Yet, she reminded herself that the healing she craved necessitated facing the very fractures she feared. "How have you been?" Jason asked, his eyes reflecting sincerity laced with caution. "Surviving," she replied, surprising herself with the frankness of her answer. Some days are harder than others. The need to show him the raw truth of her struggle seeped into her voice. "That's fair," he said, his brow furrowing. "I should be been there for you. I wish I could go back and change that." Did he expect her to reassure him, she wondered? Did he yearn for absolution for sins she hadn't asked him to carry? There was power in acknowledging this moment, in dissecting her need for closure while balancing the emotional burdens he may still bear. "I didn't expect you to be," she said, choosing her words carefully. "I was dealing with my own grief. I couldn't expect anyone else to feel or process it for me." Jason's gaze dropped, a brief flicker of recognition passing through his eyes. "I never thought of it that way. I've been turning it over in my head trying to figure out how to bridge that gap. But it's not the same without you." "Tell me about it," Sarah said, the sharpness of her words wrapping around the healing vulnerability that had begun to unfurl in her chest. As they spoke, she noticed his genuine emotion. His struggle mirrored her own. She had always viewed him through the lens of her own heartache, but now, strange as it seemed, she felt the stirrings of empathy. Perhaps they both had stories to narrate, burdens to share, grief that intertwined. She found herself wanting to dig deeper, to learn what had held Jason captive all these years. "What's been eating at you since that day?" For a split second, she glimpsed fear flicker in his eyes. His composure faltered, but he took a breath as if gathered strength from somewhere inside him. "You were always at the forefront of my mind. I wanted to support you, but I wasn't sure how to break through. That fear kept me away." His admission, while disconcerting, resonated. It mirrored Sarah's own hesitance to open herself to another. Unbeknownst to Jason, she had already decided that this meeting wasn't solely about his guilt. It was an opportunity for both of them to seize the burden of their shared history and rewrite it. In that ethereal moment, she boldly considered what it might be like to confront not only the pain of their past but also the unacknowledged potential of a new beginning. Yet, as she contemplated the vulnerability it required, lingering questions whispered in her mind. Could she truly face both her grief and the fortitude to forge ahead? The sidewalk grew quiet around them, the tension hanging heavy in the night air. "Maybe we both need to forgive ourselves," she blurted unexpectedly, her voice softening as if the very notion held some untold power. His eyes looked deep into hers, a well of vulnerability reflecting back. "What if that's what this meeting is really about?" he asked. As the gravity of their shared moment settled, the night felt charged with possibility, yet she knew they stood on the precipice of something monumental. In their unguarded honesty lay the key to unlocking parts of themselves they had kept shackled. But would either of them have the courage to delve deeper, to expose the wounds that truly needed healing? With their hearts and histories entwined in an intricate dance, Sarah felt another pivotal confrontation looming where the past would inevitably collide with the present, leading to revelations neither had anticipated. As she and Jason stood at the brink, the questions still hung in the air. Were they ready to face the depths of their past and see the light, or would they only uncover deeper shadows? In the heart of that quiet night, as shadows danced around them, Sarah felt the delicate interplay of uncertainty and newfound hope. The prospect of rewriting her story alongside Jason loomed like a bright canvas waiting for bold strokes. Forgiveness, she whispered, contemplating the weight of the word. It's the first step, isn't it? Jason nodded, his expression earnest, yet shadows of doubt lingered in his eyes. I've spent so long hiding from everything your grief, my guilt. I didn't want to be the reminder of your pain. Neither did I, Sarah replied, feeling the flicker of a long-suppressed truth rising to the surface. I buried my sorrow so deep, I couldn't see that allowing anyone in could be a healing experience. Those words hung in the air between them, wrapping around the connection they had fought to ignore. In their vulnerability, they unlocked a door to understanding that had remained closed since Tom's death. As they exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement passed between them, a shared realization that solitude and grief could be disempowering. The collective weight of their unspoken losses presented itself like a tapestry they could now weave together. Do you think, Jason ventured, his voice almost incredulous, that we could have a fresh start? Sarah paused, her heart racing. The idea felt exhilarating yet terrifying. Could she let go of the past and navigate the unpredictable waters of connection anew? As her pulse steadied, a wave of determination surged through her. Yes. I think we can, she said firmly. The words crystallized in the air. In that moment, she saw it clearly, the potential for shared healing, the possibility for both her and Jason to redefine their paths not as remnants of loss but as empowered individuals rising from the shadows. Their souls had weathered storms, it was time to celebrate the resilience born from pain. I want to bring this energy, the energy we're creating, into my mural, she declared, her voice gaining strength. We can invite others to share their stories, just like we're doing now. Let us tell a story of transformation, one that shows loss isn't always an end, but often a beginning. Jason's eyes sparkled with interest. I'll help however I can. We can use this as a way to unify our experiences and maybe others too, he replied, inspired. Before she could ask the questions rolling through her mind, they began to share ideas, dreams, and plans. The heaviness in her chest began to lift, filled now with excitement about engaging her community with stories of resilience, fueled by their newfound connection. As their conversation flowed, Sarah realized how much they, like the mural, could become a mosaic, each piece contributing to a greater whole. She could feel the pendulum of healing begin to swing. In every word exchanged, they dismantled barriers that had confined their hearts. With each moment spent with Jason rejuvenating her spirit, she took note of the lightness thriving amidst the weight of their shared experience. They each recognized the challenges ahead, aware that unveiling personal wounds could sometimes reopen scars. Still, they agreed it was necessary to be vulnerable not only for themselves but also to inspire those who would come to contribute their stories. Let us hold an event at the mural, Jason suggested. Invite the community, everyone we know. We can create a space where people are encouraged to express their grief, to paint, to write. Let us make it a festival of healing. Absolutely. We can call it Embracing the Journey, Sarah replied, enthusiasm rising. Together we'll create a place for connection, to show that sharing our pain can ultimately transform it into something beautiful. As they laid plans, the experience felt lighter. Each idea they explored, each adjustment they made, transformed not just the mural but their own paths, intertwining liberations of truth with layers of vibrant color. Days turned into weeks as they developed a plan that embraced the concept of collective storytelling. Sarah reached out to the community, inviting people to submit pieces of art, written stories, or any medium they felt could convey their journeys through grief. What began as a solitary struggle had evolved into a shared commitment built on mutual understanding. They stood at the helm of not just sharing pain but illuminating the strength found within vulnerability. As the event drew near, Sarah found herself gazing at the mural they created. Each brushstroke now held deeper meaning, a representation of every story shared, of connections forged through collective healing. The night before embracing the journey, Sarah stood before the mural, the moonlight illuminating the colors. A sense of pride swelled within her. Tomorrow, she whispered to herself, a smile gracing her lips. Tomorrow we unveil the strength forged from our pasts. The day of the event arrived, bringing warmth and anticipation. The park buzzed with energy as people gathered, memories moving simultaneously to the foreground and receding with the layering of stories. Conversations, laughter, and shared vulnerabilities exchanged freely amongst artists, families, and those grappling with their own grief. As Sarah stood in the center, surrounded by vibrant energy and interconnected narratives, she couldn't help but feel that she had achieved something greater. She had reclaimed her identity, stitched together from pain and resilience, guided not only by her experiences but also by the strength of others. In that moment, she understood that in sharing her journey, she had carved a pathway for transformation, not just for herself but for a community touched by collective stories of loss. A new chapter had begun. The echoes of laughter enveloped her under the clear blue sky, reframing her perception of what it meant to live and heal beyond loss. Tomorrow was a new day, offering uncharted terrain waiting to be explored, layered with color and fervor. As people began to paint, speak, and share, she felt a wave of contentment wash over her. Each story added depth to their mural, forging connections and illuminating their individual transformations. They had entered with broken hearts, yet were igniting paths adorned with acceptance and hope, reinforcing the truth that acknowledgement of pain fosters healing. "Thank you for pushing through," Jason said, interrupting her thoughts, his presence grounding yet exciting. Sarah nodded, overwhelmed with gratitude. "And thank you for joining me on this journey." As the realization settled in, Sarah marveled at how far she had come. Facing painful mirrors, inviting connection, and casting light upon hidden narratives signified her profound growth. She had conquered her grief by engaging with others, and each shared story had solidified her own transformation, a personal achievement echoing with newfound purpose. In that moment, standing amidst the vibrant throng, she embraced the beautiful chaos of it all. She had learned to face the ache of forgiveness, to let go of what no longer served her, and to champion the strength within both herself and the community around her. And as she contributed her final brushstroke to the mural, still wet with passion and emotion, a smile crept on her face. She had achieved more than a mural, she had conquered her past, transforming pain into a living testament to healing. Sarah felt an electrifying truth dance in her chest. She had finally stepped into her own future, co-creator of her narrative, embraced by the powerful support of those she once thought she had to face alone. Don't wait even one more second to share this incredible journey of transformation with your friends. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support creators who share these impactful reflections. Comment below your reactions and theories about this transformative ending. Spread the message and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.